Hello, hello. We are live. Good morning, Twitcher Alex. Good to see you. I see that you are going to be busy getting after it this morning. Hello. Activating, it's flipping all the switches. Making sure music shuffle is on. There we go. That's a little better. Welcome back to the Poetry Studio 105. I am the Walking Wall Poet. Appreciate you being here in any whatever capacity that you might be. I am currently turning down these lights. They're so bright. And my music is so loud. There we go. Now we have everything a little more balanced. There we go. So much better. Good morning, Disco. How are you doing? It is good to see you here. There we go. Now that is a little more soothing, a little more palatable. This morning I was planning on working on a, I'm going to write that down. Whenever I think of an idea, I write it down in a little notebook full of shenanigans. This notebook right here. Of the week, plan week. I was not here on Halloween. It was a, to say the least, it was a busy Halloween. I had a lot going on, poetry-wise, family-wise, everything. There you go. Waiting on the bundle of mugs. No worries. I will soon be posting your poem on Instagram anyway. I've got a lot of posts that I've queued up on Instagram myself, so sorry I haven't put that out there. But I saw that you had a picture of your son was on there. He's so cool, honestly. Such a cool looking kid. Got a awesome smile, ready for the world, full of excitement. So, shout out to Disco's son on Instagram. So yeah, I did not end up getting to do a Halloween stream. I could have done something ridiculous. I actually, this weekend was pretty much a fail on all accounts. I went to a vendor show early in the day on Halloween and did not even make my money back for it. It was cold. It was just terrible weather. And then in the afternoon, I was like, well, I'm going to try doing a funny gig. So I dressed up as Kylo Ren, which is my wife and I who did Kylo Ren and Rey Skywalker, or Rey today, this past weekend from Star Wars for Halloween. And I ended up deciding to go out there with a typewriter. And I was just sitting there as Kylo Ren with the typewriter. It was going to be a real funny gig. I was going to ask people if they wanted poems in honor of the First Order. I was going to do a whole bit on it. And then the typewriter didn't work on me. It was the same typewriter I did the one repair stream on a few weeks ago. So I have decided that I'm going to take that typewriter and I'm going to tear apart the entire carriage because it deserves to be dissected. And I'm going to attempt to repair it. I did not have this typewriter. Which, frankly, this would have been a great typewriter to bring out because it has like First Order-esque look to it. The white and the black keys and everything. And that was just all Saturday. And then Sunday was good because I got to take a trip out to pick up another typewriter, borrowing from a friend of mine. I am going to be repairing it. It's a special typewriter, so I'm going to keep the lid on that. That's going to work very differently than the other typewriters, and I am excited to make that into a working machine. It is not working right now, not a working machine. That was my weekend, and so it was just busy, and didn't get to do as much of writing or really anything else that I wanted to do, and didn't really get to do well with busking, but that's all right. It's just one of those things that you bounce back and you recreate and you renew and you jump back in and you try again. It was a busy week, a busy weekend, but we did get our affiliate status started. Today's project is going to be filling in a lot of little blanks and blips and everything. Steve, I got to reach out to you talking about emotes and all the little opportunities I have to customize my channel to make it really something cool. So I'm going to be tweaking and working on all that this week. And yeah, so exciting developments. You just keep plugging away, you keep working, and you make a beautiful thing. So what I have here is I have a request for in honor of, yeah, you get there eventually. Hope you're doing well, Leaky. Good to see you on the stream. It was great to be able to celebrate your lyrics last week. We had a good time reading those on the streams last week. And thank you for the cheers and everything for that. So, I have a poem here. I do not know yet who I'm featuring this week. What happened was I literally started setting up for the stream and I was like, oh, I didn't pick a featured poet. So I wrote it down in my notebook to plan that out, and I'm going to plan out the next several weeks so that I know exactly what I'm doing for the streams. This is going to be a big planning day for the streams. Today, I'm going to just be writing a poem. My plan is to write a poem for a man by the name of Alan, requested by his partner to celebrate just him as a person, another celebration poem. This is going to be a lot of dance as a metaphor in this one because Alan is a dancer. So that will be the poem today. A poem in honor of a dancer. So I'm just going to kind of roll through just like I did with Claire's poem about Salford. This starts with kind of an idea map. Really just a mesh of ideas that I kind of throw together, lines that I think might make sense, starting to synthesize and energize together what I think might work in a final version of this poem. A real free write. And I'll turn back up our music as we do our typing. What have you been writing this week, Leafy? How has your writing been this week? I know that I did write one or two poems over the weekend. One poem was a general topic of two friends, and then it turned out that the lady was requesting it in honor of someone who had passed away, and it was a really special request. So even though, like, that's the funny thing about doing busking and writing, like being out there and writing for tips on the street, is that sometimes it doesn't go well, but you always get a poem or two that people really need, they want, they're desiring. Just wish it wasn't so cold. Kind of like, yeah, basically, street poetry is all prompt writing. That's so much of what street poetry is. Is just, it's, but like, I like it because it requires me, a lot of times I also get prompts repeated. So, dogs is something I've written. Like, if you had to take a pie chart of the amount of times I've written a poem, um, half the poems I write are about love, and a quarter of the poems I write are about pets, which really means that unique requests only come from about a quarter of the people that request poems. So I have to very deeply become, for lack of a better word, and this sounds kind of pretentious, but just, for lack of a better word, a philosopher on love, a philosopher on family, a philosopher on the home, and a philosopher of dogs. Oh, goodness. I think I butchered the spelling of that word. Oh, that's terrible to hear, Steve. I am sorry for your loss. Found out a friend of mine passed away today. Weirdly found out because a scam artist had stolen his account. That's horrible. That's a shame. I mean, if he was in the hospital, it must have been. I would guess that it has something to do with the fact he was in the hospital for something, maybe. I don't know. But I will keep you and your family and your friend in my prayers. Memory of people. It's funny how the poems for people that have passed often work. A lot of times people don't tell me outright that people have passed away. They ask me, and I'll turn down the music on this one because this is something that it's just a really interesting thing that comes up a lot, is that people ask me to write poems more often for someone that's passed away without telling me they passed away. So like True Friends lady, she came up to me and said, write a poem about true friends. Nothing else. I had another lady that came up and said, write a poem about my son. And she gave me her name, my son Caden. I wrote about a son and what it's like to love a son. That's terrible that, that his page got caught by a scammer. That's really horrible. Especially if, I don't know if it's something where that person is going to, if that person tried to get money out of you, I mean, it would be something where you can notify the police about it. And then, it's possible that if it was someone that knows his page, it might be someone that knew him, which would be really a shame. But I had to deal with scammers on the internet. Scammers on the internet could be a real topic on its own. But back to the thing about poetry for those that have passed. It's almost like what happens is when people request poems for people that have passed, they want to remember them as they are alive. And they want them enshrined in a poem alive as if they have not passed away. I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's a sign that memory lives on in a true way, like not just the cliche of, hey, we remember this friend and he's in our hearts and he lives there. Everybody's heard that. But it's so real to people that they don't feel like that they need to say, hey, someone passed away, can you write a poem? And they say, true friends. And what it is the poem writes in the present. I write it in the present. I always assume, because that's just 99% of my poems, I always assume for 99% of my poems that the person I'm writing about is alive. To celebrate, often to give the poem to them. So there's always talk about past, present, and future. And then when there's that future side, which is the side where it gets really weird in those poems, because that's the side that always tears me apart. I go, oh my goodness, I wrote about this person, being alive. I wrote about this person's memories they're going to share in the future. Now now I know they're passed away. Why didn't they tell me? And that's what I say to myself. But really, that's how they want to celebrate them, is they want to celebrate the potential that may not be there in the present world, but is there in heart, and is there in the memory, and is there to kind of, like, I had a friend that passed away, not a close friend, who was closer friend to my wife than to me, but friend that passed away, and people, they would be like, oh, like he was a pilot, and they would look at the planes up in the sky, and they'd be like, well, there's Casey flying over us, and so he had a residual effect on all of our lives. People that pass away often have an effect on our lives, a positive effect, more often than not. After the pain, you learn to be a better person, to celebrate, to honor their memory. Just like, Steve, what you're saying here, you wouldn't want me to be sad, talking about your friend that passed away. Indeed, this, his memory will spur you on to probably, spin that groove even better. Not that that's the purpose, but it's one of those things that we find, how do people live on in that moment? That's just kind of my reflection on writing poems for people that have passed away. I'm going to get back to my work here. If any of you have any thoughts on that, I'd love to hear them in the chat. There we go. Music's good. Oh no! We have created sound by knocking down the microphone. So sorry. Steve says, I don't want people to be sad when I go. I want them to celebrate with a party. Not that I've gone, but a celebration of the time that I was here. And the same with me as well. Like, the funny question of what do you want when you go? I want people to just feel meaning, not from me passing. Like, oh, I feel meaningful. That Joe passed. That's great. No, but it's like that there's a deeper appreciation of life, which does mean that someone lives in a happier, better, more fulfilled way. Like, I hope that presently and in the future, my influence in the world is to help encourage people to chase their dreams in practical ways that, allow for poets to still eat and writers to still be able to, do their thing, and everybody to be able to do that. But I hope that that's the effect I can leave. But yes, a celebration of the time I was here. I think I wrote a poem something like that at a certain point. Oh goodness, that's got to be an old poem. It's a hard thing about being a poet, is that my writings are so disorganized that I can't find them when I want them. I need to switch to my drive, and if I just switch the word death. Let's see, just try that, death. No. Nope, that's not it. R.I.P. I had a poem that I wrote a long time ago that was of that vein. Of what I wanted to... Oh, it was... I remember it. Smile. Oh, it's because I'm in the wrong... Instructions. I remember it now. You've resurrected a poem, Disco. This poem I have, this is back from 2017. All right, let's read this. I don't know if this is in complete encapsulation of what I would say now. 3 years is a long time, and obviously I've changed a lot in those 3 years. I'm reading it just now, making sure that what I remember it as is the same as. Yeah, so I do not consider this a completely polished poem. As a forever disclaimer to everything that happens on my channel, it could suck. I get scared whenever I read things, especially older things. Instructions upon death. Smile. Change. Bodies are horrible things, so don't look at me. Look at the sunset, the friend next to you. Make love, not war. Smile. Change. Say the little existential inconsistencies, keeping ourselves sane. There is no hell, only heaven. You are heaven. Smile. Change. Run for president. Tell the world how I changed you for the better. Live not for yourself. It was never better back then. Smile. Don't change. Just be beautiful for one single moment. Instructions upon death. So there are definitely some things that I would change, looking back at it. But I like that I had that kind of turn of phrase at the end, the smile and don't change, according to smile and change. It's a cool little poem, and it's so cool. What I appreciate more than anything else is how it's been called back from the dead, lack of a better word. That it's been called back from the dead, not the pun, but that it's a poem that is kind of just buried in my library, and I searched the right search terms, and I managed to find it. I wrote a lot more, and it's actually even darker than I would make it usually. I literally have a poem entitled "Here Are More Poems About Death." I was a dark writer. That was wonderful, says Twitcher Alex. Finally done in the mornings, work just in time. Yeah, let's talk on midday, Twitcher Alex. Yeah, don't worry about responding back to my DM late. I know that. I literally finally got my head together yesterday at like 7:30, and I was like, all right, finally able to start, knocking some of these things off that I've been putting off and everything like that. I'm going to get back to the poem, and we're going to get back to the music. But that is an old poem. I like old poems. I now have, my new thing is now binders. Binders and binders full of poems, because now everything is typewritten and handwritten. But I do scan everything regardless. I'm doing some field research on my phone. He's a jazz dancer. I don't know what makes jazz dancing. Oh, actually, this is when I should call a friend. I gotta ask my sister. My sister is a dance teacher. She would be great at telling me more about how to handle this poem. I need to give it some sort of resolution for today. Alrighty. So my sister is a dance teacher, so she'll probably be able to better words, Joe, use them, be able to help inform the poem more. So I'll be able to say, hey, Jazz, give me some terminology and explain that terminology. Then I could filter that into the theme of the poem. But for now, we have a poem, a start, I should say. It's less fragmenty than other poems. This is probably going to be what the poem's going to look like mostly. Poise. The arc of the arm, twist of the hips and stretch, reach, balance in all your graces, spinning to delight, raising the spirits of thrill, dip and dive of the roller coaster ride of my life, stays on the tracks with your careful choreography. From the first words on the screen, careful for a soul stepping on your shoes. And so you teach me how to swing moods back to center, spin outwards and return to those arms across the stages of life. Performed so well the part of our home, vertical expression of our balanced, unbalanced, settled again position. So the requester of the poem talked about how the person receiving the poem is a very balanced person compared to them, and so these poems talking about relationships always kind of talk about the aspects of the relationship, the dynamics that they want to celebrate. So I want to celebrate that, but I think I went too heavy on the theme. that it's more the request was very definitely celebrate this person. So I'm gonna trim down on some of those thematic elements of this is what the balance looks like to kind of make it more into something that works better. Well, I think I'm going to close it out there. I want to thank our visitors today. We had Leaky that stopped in briefly. We had Twitch Hero Alex and Steve Disco Newsome. As always, really appreciate you all being in the house and helping celebrate the art and written word. As always, you can request poetry. Now you can subscribe if you so inclined. Just glad to be here and able to create for the internet. And looking forward to more Akira the Don and Steve Disco Newsome this week. I get into these funks. They're weird funks where like I'm really hooked into everything stream wise on Twitch, and then I have these moments where I just need to like step away from it for like a few days. But often not for the right reasons, and that's the part I want to work on a little bit more. Like taking that break is important, but I need to also be involved and be productive in my own life. And yes, call later on, Twitch or Alex, we will be chatting. Thank you again so much, and have a wonderful, poetic, and awesome day.